Hello everyone and welcome to Ludo History and to Bioshock Infinite. I'm Adam and I'm joined today by Reed.
Hello.
So you might notice some changes on the setup. My camera has gone away, but instead you'll get to see who's actually talking. I've been editing the Wrath of the Druid stream. I realized I really would have liked to have this because it would make editing everyone to know who's talking when so much freaking easier.
It is very helpful.
So we're just going to do this instead. So basically, the idea is for the next several weeks, scheduling allowing, on Wednesdays here, Reed and I are going to be going through Bioshock Infinite, and we're going to be talking about Americana and American civilization, American civil religion. Those are words. And generally, I'll attempt to be good at shooters for a change. I'm really not good at shooters.
Shooters are hit or miss,
They're
but
hard. And I haven't played this game in a while. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, Vela. We are getting straight into the American Baptist themes.
yes, I am excited to talk about how this game handles baptism and all of that.
Uh-huh. Because it is about as subtle as a wall of bricks.
And yes, some of you did notice the hit or miss comments I
Uh-huh.
made. Good for you. But yeah, this game pulls from a variety of different religious traditions and different themes, at least in the US, but it is very unique and cool.
Honestly, right, the first half of this game is one of my favorite games of all time. The second half of this game is one of my least favorite games of all time. So it comes out to be a wash in the end.
For reference, I have not played this game, but I've seen playthroughs, and just the second half of the game is a little iffy, especially from a narrative
Are you
standpoint,
afraid of God?
and also getting you invested in the game. But I will not get too much into that now.
Uh-huh. Yay. The mind of the subject will desperately struggle to create memories where none exist. Barriers to transdimensional travel by R. Lutesh. So,
Are you going to just sit there,
As compared to what? Standing?
not standing, rowing?
Rowing? Hadn't planned on it.
So you expect me to shoulder
What's
the
this?
burden?
No. But I do expect you to do all the rowing.
oof.
Why is that?
Coming here was your idea.
My idea.
I made it very clear that I don't believe in the exercise.
The rowing.
No. Imagine that's wonderful exercise.
Then what?
The entire thought experiment.
Excuse me. How much longer?
One goes into an experiment knowing one could fail.
But one does not undertake an experiment knowing one has failed.
Can we get back to the rowing?
I suggest you do. We're never going to get there.
No, I mean I'd greatly appreciate it if you would assist.
Perhaps you should ask him. I imagine he has a greater interest in getting there than I do.
I suppose he does, but there's no point in asking.
Why not?
Because he doesn't row.
He doesn't row.
No, he doesn't row.
Ah, I see what you mean.
That's what I thought. Okay, so
Arrived.
Booker's thing there, the little box he got, said 7th Cavalry, Wounded Knee.
Yep.
So, this is already a fairly deep cut on the historical
That
references.
chain gang.
It might give him some comfort.
At least that's something we can agree on.
Bye.
Yeah, and
Rude.
especially
Somebody
this early
meeting me
into the
here?
game.
I'd
But
certainly hope so.
It does seem like a dreadful place to be stranded.
Rude.
Oh, maybe there's someone inside.
Extremely rude. They could have given me something.
they could have, but
so-
they have to be mysterious for this game.
They do have to pretend to be mysterious. So, Rat, you called it out right away. The 7th Cavalry is best known in the 19th century as the cavalry regiment that served with George Custer at the Battle of Little Bighorn in 1876. However, Booker seems to have been a part of the 7th Cavalry of the US Army a generation later, given that Wounded Knee, the main event for that is referenced on his little box there is in 1890. Regardless, it still has been 22
Excuse me.
years.
It's Booker DeWitt. I guess you're expecting me?
Yeah, and I'm certain that won't come up in the game later.
Oh, totally not. No, we definitely don't have an entire museum.
But we get one of the first religious references in the game, which with the wash your sins.
Uh-huh.
Good
In
luck with
this
that, pal.
extremely, like, stereotypical rural American Midwest cross-stitch. Like, that is...
You'd expect it to be hanging in some house on the wall, but
Uh-huh. So have I sinned, shall I watch thee? From Sodom, shall I
anyone here?
lead thee?
Hello?
And is there one more? Is there one more? There's the one over there. Okay. To thine own land shall I take thee.
yeah, I have at least the lead thee from Sodom and just take thee to their own land. That's kind of a reference to Exodus, or picking up on Exodus-like themes, leading you to a better land, which definitely gets more apparent later on, but for now, they're just kind of teasing it all.
Uh-huh. Also, the music box is playing a song.
Oh, yes.
Old Time
Yes, it
Religion.
is. Old Time Religion, what a fun hymn. It is. I have things to say about this just because this is a hymn that personally I've looked into and actually have a hymnal from 1915 with it in it. But this hymn actually comes onto the scene in 1873 with the Jubilee Singers, Fist's Jubilee Singers, a African-American group that, after the Civil War, tried to bring African-American spirituals to the public. It was also introduced by kind of a scummy guy later on. A different hymn writer kind of went to an African-American spiritual meeting, heard the song, recorded it down on a piece of paper, and republished it, kind of claiming credit, more or less. So, it has a bit of a complicated past, but it's an interesting hymn, especially because of the theme of just old-time religion. It's in the hymnal I have, it's listed in a section called Ye Old... What is it called? It's Ye Old Timey Tune... Oh, Ye Olden Melodies. So, it's already drawing upon and listing this hymn as part of an older nostalgia for a lost, I guess, form of spirituality. It's believing that there was some good spirituality that is not the current state of things and that should be gone back to. And those themes pop up later in the game and also just in religious references from the time.
Yep. There's a nice juxtaposition, though. Old-time religion. Torture.
Yes.
Subtlety.
It's very jarring putting, a traditional hymn next to a scene of violence like that, but...
Yep. A new Eden soil shall I plant thee? And... I think we're at the top. We seem to be missing...
Yeah.
It feels like there's supposed to be one more statement, to that.
Wait a minute, that card.
It feels like there should be, but it's not there. The reference to New Eden can definitely be understood in American terms because there are people who, well, there were Puritans and various people who conceived of America as a new paradise, a new Eden for them to make, but we're not into the big American section of the game yet. This is still just kind of using all that.
We're not... No, take a look at the front of the bells here.
True.
Right, the angelic figure is, well...
There he is.
Looks a suspicious amount like, if not Washington, at least a founding
Yes.
father.
Very much so. It looks honestly a lot like Washington, especially when you got closer to him.
And yes, Raptorus, these are the angels blowing the horns,
Sitting there fancy.
a la the Revelation of St. John. Because, oh boy, they are not subtle about the idea that Columbia is New Eden. Oh look, and we're going on pilgrimage.
Yeah, which is weird that they call it pilgrimage, because honestly at this time, pilgrimage for Protestants was mostly a literary thing, like John Bunyan's The Pilgrim's Progress. There weren't actually many Protestants who employed images of pilgrimage and went on pilgrimage in the 19th and early 20th century.
Yeah.
So recently that has changed a bit, but it's weird to use it now because just how much Protestant stuff they're drawing on.
Hallelujah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it's definitely more of, like, our construct of Christian religious practice more than any observed reality in that time period.
Yeah. Just the way that like I said, it's still prominent in Protestant literature that you're taking a transformative journey of some sorts to a holy destination. So, oh, and also, this game is not too spooky. There
Yeah,
are some
this game
things
is
later.
not as spooky as Bioshock 1 or 2. Also, there was another
and
hymn
areas
there.
on-
What was
oh,
the...
sorry.
I can't remember the name of it. I sent it to you, but they had a piano solo version.
Yeah, it's Will the Circle Be Unbroken?
Yeah, it is.
Is the one you mentioned to me?
Yup.
And just the gospel genre in general is very rooted in African American spirituals, as well as other influence from some late 19th century revival music, but mostly spirituals.
Yeah. Will the Circle Be Unbroken specifically is written by two Iowan Protestants, so, but the stylistic influence is still very much there. And
Love this stained glass here.
I know, right? It's such a strong beginning.
Yeah. And I don't know. It's very strong beginning. The Welcome Center is like the most overtly religious building there is. But oh yeah, the comment about him looking like Moses. Sorry, do you want to go?
Yeah, no, you go first.
Okay, so he looks a lot like Moses, yes, in popular depictions. Just the idea of a older looking fatherly figure is very popular as like a guiding religious figure. But also, I at least personally noticed this because I study a lot of late 19th century revivals. He looks a lot like Dwight Moody, a major revivalist at the time. And Dwight Moody died in 1900, but just the way that that figure more or less commands attention and also projects them as like a guiding force is pretty important. Even like other revivalists try to emulate the kind of presence that Dwight Moody or just that kind of image of what you have in your head as a leading religious figure would be like.
I agree. And I think the other big difference in this stained glass, to specifically looking at like Moses, is the way the people are surrounding him
Yes.
is not quite the same. The posing on Comstock himself is very much so. But
Definitely.
the people around him are doing something slightly different. The
Yeah,
thing
rather
that's
than-
amazing about these guys, though, is that they are the most, like, prairie Protestant you can possibly get in as stained glass.
Yeah. Protestants haven't been known for liking stained glass, but there are some wonderful stained glass works in Protestant churches, but this is the most prairie I've seen people depicted in there.
Yep. Oh, and Flowery Space Karate. I love jumping into a stream and hearing some shit about D.L. Moody immediately. Guess what? This is the series for you. We're gonna be talking about him so fucking much.
And also, it's me. I love late 19th century religion. It is
True.
a mess, and I love studying it. So
True. By the way, we haven't actually introduced your kind of expertise training in the subject, because this is what you do. Well,
So
one of the two things you do.
Yes. I am a student of religious studies. I focus a lot on American history and, well, the history of American religion. And mostly late 19th century, early 20th century is my big focus. So this game really appeals to that. And also I am a microbiology major on the side, but I don't think that relates, so...
Hey, you know, it makes you more qualified than me for all this spooky second half stuff. Which is to say,
yes,
totally unqualified, but...
I will explain, quantum mechanics using my microbiology skills.
I mean, better than I've got. It's at least a hard science. Anyway, you wanted the Moses imagery, right? Far more than this one. That is some Moses imagery.
That definitely is.
Right, this
Kind
is
of
literally Comstock parting the waters.
The really unruly beard is more or less reminding me of a depiction of Moses that I think is, from the Renaissance. Moses with horns because of mistranslations, but...
Oh my god, I remember that one. I love it.
Yes.
Gotta find the exit out of this place.
The lamb of our city. Using a lamb, at least as an analogy, is very potent in Christian imagery.
Yes. Again, and the Let the Circle Be Unbroken has been playing this whole time. It's only been getting louder as we get going. So. Well, that's not creepy at all.
Definitely not.
Nope.
It's interesting because I feel like they are somewhat trying to appeal to at least 19th century conceptions of a holy woman. I don't so much see the Marian imagery. I know Raptorus brought it up in chat, but it doesn't quite seem as apparent to me in this case because...
No, this is not Mary.
Yeah.
This is missing like half of the
holy
things.
Woman, but...
Yeah. Right, if this was Mary, I would expect her over her top layer, her little jacket there, to be red.
Mm-hmm.
If it was red, right, that's Mary. But...
And also just, generally, I don't know. The way that she's posed is very composed Victorian woman. It's not
19th century portraiture, you're right.
Yeah. It's not quite what you'd expect from a Marian depiction.
Uh-huh. By the way, the Bible here is open to John 2-4.
Oh, John. John is quite a gospel, but...
There are several things going on.
Oh, and yes, while Rapture is more Randian, this is very much American Christianity and America as just an idea.
Because he loves the sinner.
Hang on, why are the dialogue... Why are the subtitles not on 4?
I don't know if the subtitles work for the voxophones.
That's dumb. Why would we ever do that?
Love the sinner.
I don't know why. Maybe if you're playing a voxophone over dialogue? I don't know. It's very weird. I really just wish they had them.
What grace has forgiveness?
Excuse me. Where am I?
Heaven, friend. Or as close as we'll see till Judgment Day.
Best keep such questions to myself, unless I want to get made.
It does bring up a point that a lot of different people try and get into without sin, why do you need a redeemer? And that gets into some theological ideas around why some different denominations, of course, try and use that to explain why God allowed for the fall of man to happen, why God allowed for sin, so that people can be redeemed. that varies by denomination, but that is what it reminded me of first and foremost.
Yeah. Luckily, I knew that there was some option in some menu that would give us the transcripts. So we're going to be just trying to
perfect.
rely on these as much as we can. I just need to remember where the buttons are for that more quickly. Let's see, what was that? Was that O? That is O. Cool. Interesting, yeah. There is just so much work going on in this little section.
Yeah, also just so many votive candles. So many.
So many candles.
Oh, referring to holding the child.
I just saw that one again, but Comstock's the one holding the child. So while Lady
Yeah.
Comstock has the halo, it still doesn't look right.
Which does kind of relate to some Protestant conceptions. Certain denominations, again, this is not a blanket thing, because Protestants sometimes get weird with Mary, because sometimes they have devotion to Mary, sometimes not. But certain more evangelical denominations kind of reduce Mary to a figure that just someone who needed to give birth to Christ, and not really a special person in their own right. And so that taking the child away from Lady Comstock kind of reflects that in a way.
Yeah.
It would have been enough if the prophet had just accepted the 3 golden gifts of the pounders and not prayed for our deliverance. It would have been enough.
Preacher Wittig.
If the prophet had only prayed for our deliverance and not led us to this new Eden, it would have been enough. If the prophet had just led us to the new Eden and not purged the vipers of the Orient, it would have been enough. If the prophet had just purged the vipers of the Orient, but not suffered the sacrifice of his beloved, it would have been enough. If the prophet had just suffered the sacrifice of his beloved, but not expelled the vox populi, it would have been enough.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh
You
dear.
done talking? That was a lot. Oh boy, there's a lot
that
there.
was so much.
Oh boy. We'll cycle back to some of the history in there, because there's some super yikes history. But
Yeah,
one thing that we
that
can
a
also
little bit.
talk about in the downtime is there's a lot of Latin of a sort in this Protestant tradition.
Yeah.
Right, because
Yeah.
we have the stained glasses here, volumen, or parchment, clawem, or key, and gladium, sword. Except one, the Latin's bad.
Yeah.
Like, it's gladius, not gladium.
Yeah, why did they make it the accusative case there? But
Yeah. They do
Anyway.
that. I guess they did that with 2 of the 3, though. Right, clawem is also accusative, but then volumen is nominative.
yeah, this does kind of remind me of just high church Protestants, certain Methodists, Presbyterians, Lutherans, Anglicans. Certain parts of those denominations are more high church and liturgical, and so sometimes would invoke Latin, sometimes you use votive candles like you see around.
Someone from the Sodom below.
Oh, and also, with Protestants, Lutherans and Anglicans mostly, you see a greater emphasis on Mary.
I just need passage
Luther
into the
himself
city.
was a very big
To the city.
devotee in some ways
Brother,
to
the
Mary.
only way
He
to
really
Columbia is
liked
through
the figure of Mary.
rebirth in the
But I'll
sweet
stop talking
waters
as we
of
get into
baptism.
this part.
Will you be cleansed, brother?
Do I need to be?
It's either this or turn around and get back on that rocket. Might as well get it over with.
God damn it.
Come and be cleansed. Hallelujah!
He is going all in on the Baptist preacher, though.
He really is.
I baptize you in the name of our prophet, in the name of our
That's
founders,
not
in
the-
the name of our Lord.
Those are not the correct ones. You don't baptize someone in the name of a prophet. That's a heresy.
I don't know, brothers and sisters, but this one doesn't
What, you've
look
never
clean
baptized
to
someone
me.
in the name of Washington, Franklin, and Jefferson before?
And Comstock.
And Comstock, true. Can't forget Comstock.
Like that was kind of a giga heresy actually.
Who's there?
Yeah. But this is the
What do you
Church of
want?
Comstock, basically.
True.
And not heresy.
I told
But,
you. Not gonna
yeah,
do
he...
it. Go
Of
away.
course, there are strong Baptist emphases here, but it's very much on the topic of rebaptism, which is kind of done by a lot of different denominations. When someone converts to their denomination, you baptize them again, depending on which church again. But also, kind of born-again Christianity was more or less brought up, or at least the themes of it were, where you're being born again, and these people, at least I know in the crowd, it's kind of alluded to it being an annual thing, and so they're rededicating themselves to it, which isn't done by any denomination that I know of, but the rebaptism and being born again in the waters of baptism is a big emphasis in certain Baptist churches and Pentecostals too, to some degree. Again, American Christianity gets messy and blurry at some points, but just the way of how people see themselves as rededicating themselves to God in baptism, and also, at least the Baptist emphasis on you needing to choose it, and rather than just being baptized as an infant.
Yep. So anyway, more of Booker's backstory. One, noir, like the most noir. But then also, right, there's his remnants from his time in the U.S. 7th Cavalry Division. And here is his passport and badge from his time in the Pinkertons. Because apparently he decided after getting out of the army that joining the fucking Pinkertons was the best possible job.
To be fair, there were quite a few veterans that joined the Pinkertons,
Oh,
but
there were
still.
a ton. And also now he's in horse gambling debt. And also he's an alcoholic.
Just gotta love that cocktail of various life problems.
Yep, and now
Very
he's a
skilled.
private investigator, because this is a noir.
And of course, apocalyptic scenes.
Yes.
Because what late 19th century Christianity or early 20th would be complete without millennialism?
Huzzah!
That idiot priest needs to learn the difference between baptizing a man and drowning one. Need to find a
And now we get into the most overt American civil religion in the game.
Truly,
People literally...
No, I won't say the most overt, because the enemies exist.
Oh,
The Patriot enemies exist.
Yes, the Patriot enemies also exist. Very good point, but...
By the way, there was... Peter, you said the Pinkertons had a little bit of time before they became mercenaries for robber barons? The Homestead Strike was in 1892. He got out of the army, joined the Pinkertons, and immediately got sent to suppress riots. So... no, he truly just has the actual worst luck. Anyway, Benjamin Franklin,
Yeah,
the whole key, discovering electricity through, like, flying a key in a thunderstorm story, is his entire identity.
Yes. Ben
Washington
Franklin...
is a general.
Oh, sorry.
What?
We'll go through them all, then
Yeah.
I'll comment.
And then Jefferson is exclusively and entirely the author of the Declaration of Independence and had literally no problematic beliefs besides that. Yep. Perfect. Flawless. Also, the statuary is excessively Greek. Like, they're wearing
It
togas.
is.
Our prophet fills our lungs with
So,
water, so they may
first of
better
all,
love
run
the
down
air.
American civil religion. It is not literally religion in the way you think of it, but it is a way of describing more or less American symbols and systems of symbols and the reverence people give to them, and describing that in religious terms as a way of more deeply understanding how people interact with these figures, these ideas, and how American civil religion attempts to unite people and also define what America is. So honestly, Ben Franklin is the most out of place because Washington and Jefferson are just so deeply embedded in American civil religion. They're really clear choices. But Ben Franklin kind of stands out because he, although helping to author the Declaration, was not himself a president and did not himself, at least, get kind of a cult following around him like Washington and Jefferson did.
Yeah. Also, it's just generally a bad choice for anything sacral.
True.
He was kind of a really bad choice. So is Jefferson and Washington. But
out of the three,
Franklin was extremely horny and drunk all the time, so good choice.
Yes. Out of the three, arguably least problematic from what the chat says. I'd agree with you there. Jefferson has baggage, and so does Washington.
Yeah. No, I'd agree with it, but not by virtue of him being particularly a paragon of virtue. More that the bar is just that low.
And so, these figures, at least most of the founding fathers, later people like Lincoln, who is actually an exception in this case because you'll see how Lincoln is treated by Columbia soon enough. But most of the founding fathers and various figures throughout American history have more or less become saints in a way, become icons of what it means to be American, and more or less become symbols of just American identity. Washington basically is called a saint, more or less, in how he won the revolution, or believed to have won the revolution. People mythologize his life and his deeds to the point that you'd be, like, most people just know Washington was a general in the revolution, and he won it, and then was a good president.
Cherry tree.
Cherry tree. True. Cherry tree.
Like, that is the epitome mythologized Washington.
Just to demonstrate Washington is a good guy and should be aspired to be like him.
Yeah, the story of him being so honest that, he cut down the cherry tree and then told his father because he was just that honest is completely apocryphal. It never happened. That's not a real thing. That's not at all a real thing.
Not in the slightest, but it helps to promote Washington's image. It helps to promote him as something to be aspired towards and a uniting figure in American history. The way that American history, especially, I usually look at the Civil War, but the Revolutionary War, kind of after the fact, was viewed, just the way that people use these moments to kind of mythologize them and create basically a sacred history of America, more or less.
Inconvenient when buildings don't dock on time. Yesterday I had to take a gondola.
Oh yeah, leaving out the Whiskey Rebellion really warps the picture.
Sure does. Also, erasing all indigenous perspectives on Washington really warps the picture. By the way, in case you didn't know that we're an old-timey small-town Americana, I mean, this could be Staten Island, or, Navy Pier, or any county fair west of the Mississippi.
Essentially, yes.
They do such a good job getting the vibe of glory days, early 20th century America.
It is so good at
look at all this gorgeous brownstone.
Yeah, it's so good at basically creating that nostalgia for a glorious past America, and of course we'll see how warped that is. But
oh yeah, but their architecture is moi.
All of this, including American civil religion, because it was created intentionally, it didn't just happen. All of this was built up to basically explain American exceptionalism and talk about, hey, America is great. It is nostalgic for the past. Things right now are not great, but it once was good, which is very topical today. But
remember, it once was. It's not great right now, except it still is.
Yes.
Right. Stephen Colbert's bit on that is evergreen.
The weird paradox of America was once great, but now it is not, but it still kind of is
Uh-huh.
a very weird mindset to think about.
Yep. By the way, for context, Stephen Colbert released a book called Becoming America, Rediscovering the Greatness We Never Weren't.
Perfect.
And that sums it up pretty well. Anyway, I'm just
Yeah.
hovering here because our entrance point is American neoclassical.
Yes.
Specifically American.
neoclassical. Because you see that so much in Washington, first of all, and then I'll get to another example shortly, but Washington, just the neoclassical elements used there, really evoke Greco-Roman themes. First of all, providing legitimacy for the new republic. I say new because most of these buildings were built in late 19th century after the
Yeah.
Civil War.
Yep.
But it's trying to build legitimacy for the republic, and also, at least in the memorials for these figures, like the Jefferson Memorial or the Lincoln Memorial, it's very temple-like, and that just really emphasizes these people as special. Look
Holy,
at that.
the Angel Columbia. Holy, we are on point today.
The Angel Columbia, very rural, kind of early Comstock there? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that was Comstock.
Okay. Interesting how she has a halo and he does not in that image.
It is interesting. Right, the
He does
child
have a halo in
and
the past one.
the wife has a halo, but Comstock doesn't.
Yeah.
Wild.
But some of you might also get Latter-day Saints vibes from at least Comstock, proclaiming himself a prophet. That is inevitable if you're trying to go for a American prophet or prophetic movement that tried to proclaim a new Eden somewhere in the Americas.
Columbia.
That's just
Fair.
very inevitable, and the parallels are there. Just all of this
It's
art
so
just
good.
around the place. It is so good, but I know what's kind of lurking just beneath the surface, and I don't
Well,
like that.
just savor it
I
for now.
enjoy this so much.
We will have so much time to enjoy this. Because I will admit, in full good, bad, or indifference, that I super duper still like this brownstone architecture. Like, that still
Yeah.
is, in my opinion, one of the best architectural styles America has come up with.
It is pretty beautiful. I can't deny that, but yeah, I personally like some other art styles, but this you really can't go wrong with. It just evokes the image of an older America that is so nice.
The false shepherd seeks only to lead our lamb astray.
Oh, look at that! Just the hand with the claws, basically, and also I will say the lamb looks a little weird, but yes, it is. The false shepherd just really draws on kind of both Ezekiel with false prophets and later with Christ warning against false people. And
By the way,
he
shoutouts
has
to the
this
Beastie
hand.
Boys.
It's really unexpected, but the way they do music in this game is nice. So. Oh yeah,
They-
sadly gayest in the happy sense, not in the
Hey,
actual gay sense.
hey, let the quartet live their polycool best life.
I really want that to
Head,
canon.
let the headcanons be headcanons. It's such a good arrangement. It's such a good arrangement.
A few days before we were doing this, yeah,
I know. So obviously that song is not from 1912.
yeah. I came across a video recently talking about how they did that arrangement. How
8-bit music theories?
yes,
Yeah,
8-bit music theory
super,
is great.
super
I
good.
love
Highly recommend.
Everyone in chat, I highly recommend them. Go listen to them.
Would you care for a boutonniere? We're raising money for the Girls' Patriotic League.
But just look at these Columbia flags all over the place. I almost said American flag,
Come back
but
if you change your mind.
Not an
they're
American
really
flag.
yes.
Solidly, in fact, actually a violation of U.S. flag code.
It is. Which, funny you bring up U.S. flag code, because U.S. flag code is fun and also deeply American civil religion-y in how, basically, regulations on how to treat symbols.
Violation of U.S. flag code. Violation of U.S. flag code. Not violation of U.S. flag code. Come on, we gotta find more. Gotta find more.
Mm-hmm.
Arguably a violation, probably not.
Probably
I'm
not,
sure we'll see more. These ones
Yeah,
are touching the
we'll-
ground, that's a violation.
Oh, absolutely.
These ones are touching the ground and need to be retired. That's double violations.
Flag retirement ceremonies.
I know.
Also very weird, but I went back when I was in Boy Scouts. I participated in a few.
So did
and
I.
They
Exact
always
same
were
context.
So odd, but
Anyway, next, Voxophone. Parade crossing. One man goes into the waters of baptism, a different man comes out, born again. But who is the man that lies submerged? Perhaps that swimmer is both sinner and saint until he is revealed unto the eyes of man.
okay, that's first of all drawing directly upon born again ideas.
Actually.
But second of all, the sinner saint, that's a Lutheran reference.
Uh-huh.
Why?
Uh-huh.
That's very strange, but just Comstock's whole thing is vaguely Protestant, but it draws on a bunch of traditions, and that just really shows, hey, he's also drawing on Luther for some reason now.
Interesting. The character we just walked past, or, well, her, had a very distinct southern accent.
Oh, fun.
Fun times. I mean,
That's where they said
because-
I'd find her.
This is really kind of showing a united America, not the kind of America right after the Civil War when,
DeWitt,
you know,
stop.
it was
Do
very
not alert
disunited.
Comstock
The
to
North
your
versus South
presence.
divide was
Stop.
very present, but
Whatever
then
you do not
actually,
take no
funny
sides.
enough, people like
Everybody
Dwight Moody and his revivals, along with other efforts, united white America together against more or less African Americans. So,
yay.
yeah, you'll see that in this game a lot.
Uh-huh. God, that is such an absurd statue. I love it. Absolute insanity.
It is so large and so nice, but it makes no sense to do that.
How on earth do you keep that much weight, even though it's hollow? How on earth do you keep that much weight afloat using hydrogen?
My good day to you, sir.
Magic. Or physics magic, because that's what physics is, in my opinion. But-
Exactly. I mean, this city is 10 out of 10 on style, and we're just not going to talk about the practicality score.
yeah, also just like free floating buildings that could just crash into each other
Oh, yeah.
does not seem like a good idea, but it is beautiful, so I'm not going to complain.
She's some kind of beauty. No, that's where all the
That used to be Ellis Island?
Wish they still allowed average Janes and Joes to enter. You know, you gotta be somebody now.
You gotta be somebody, eh? So this is an floating island by and for the wealthy. Your cult's gotta come in with some cash.
Oh yes. Because
You wanna let me
Hello?
through here,
American
pal?
civil religion directly
Street's
kind
closed
of
for your safety,
benefits,
fella. They're
you know,
prepping tonight's
more
fireworks
wealthy
back
people, because
There's enough TNT back
just
there
the
to
idea
blow
of
Peking to
being
kingdom
virtuous
come.
and white
Again.
and American usually comes up with a very waspy mindset of you're either middle class or upper middle class, or just upper class.
Now, would you believe me? If I told you a man could hoist a 1-ton stallion straight into the
Oh,
air,
and we're getting into the fair
would you
now.
believe me?
Yeah.
Well, friends, I am here today to tell. Those are no flights of fancy. Those are no tall tales told behind the pool hall. No, sir, no ma'am.
These devil
Those
outfits are
figures
a lot.
I'm talking about. Brought to you courtesy of Mr.
They are.
Jeremiah Fink
They're definitely
himself,
reminding me of something. I just can't
who amongst
place my
you has
finger on what it
tasted
is.
the divine gift of
Uh-huh.
Just all the frills
one
and
swing
I mean-
and feats of wonderment are at the tips of your fingers.
I suppose
You know our prophet is
the
there.
immediate layer that I would stick is a double layer of anti-Semitism and Orientalism.
oh yeah, I can definitely see the Orientalism now. The
Right.
anti-Semitism definitely.
Right.
True.
Which 1912, right? This is a good representation of, the iconography of the devil over here is accurate to the time period. Oh, there it is. Yep, look at the paper lantern.
Ah, you found it. Yes.
There it is.
That's
Confirming the vibe. But right,
It's good how
totally
unsubtle they
accurate
are
to the
with every
time
dance,
period.
too.
Those are no tall tales told behind
It's good how unsubtle they are, so we don't have to really look too
Exactly.
far.
Exactly. They are not making it subtle, so let's be clear, right? I don't think we can actually say in any way, shape, or form that that is the game making a claim. It's just acknowledging that that's part of the historical time period and making it so unsubtle that you can't miss it.
Yes.
Children smoking. Again, another thing, part of the time period. Okay, but could I get some of that sweet juice? No?
Designed specifically for kids. Gotta love older America without restrictions on that.
Perfect.
Okay, commenting on what's going on in chat with the prosperity gospel and American civil religion, they don't directly feed into each other. That is, I would argue that, I'm kind of arguing against Flower here. They are different traditions because American civil religion is more or less divorced from a fair amount of, even though heavily influenced by Protestantism, is divorced from a fair amount of direct theological ideas from Protestantism. So they can coexist, and they do coexist in the city, but the prosperity gospel being, good people get money, basically, get worldly success, is not directly a part of American civil religion, and yeah.
Well,
So,
good thing they
the
didn't actually
prosperity
punish me.
The prosperity gospel did emerge around this time, early 20th century, when America was really gaining its consumerist ethos. There were a lot of writers talking about Christ as a businessman and worldly benefits going to those who were virtuous, and everyone who's not getting those worldly benefits was not virtuous.
Correct. I don't have nearly enough cash for that. Okay. Well, let's go through all the tutorials.
Did they read the Bible? That is, a lot of people read the Bible in many different ways. I wouldn't call. Yeah, there's a lot going on with that. There was the whole masculine Christianity movement happening late 19th century, where Christ was recast as a very model of masculinity, basically a model of Victorian manhood. Oh, and I mean, Protestant theology and American civil religion are linked in the way that Christian nationalism is a thing, but it's not. American civil religion itself does not kind of feed into that directly. American civil religion is intentionally developed around these symbols, and while it still favors more wealthier people, it's not. I would at least say it's not directly prosperity gospel. Oh yeah, reminding you of Liberty Square and Disney World.
Yeah. I would agree, but it is very, very much the sort of vibe we're going for.
What's a voxophone?
Just the red, white, and blue everywhere. It is so clear.
Yep.
Hey, just so we're clear, I'm not paying for this.
And yeah, this is basically a tutorial area.
This should actually be on time for the... Yeah. That's what I thought. We are just after the point at which this technology develops historically. Sort of. Obviously not this portable. But, in the early history of audio devices and audio recordings, you have kind of two main competitors. You've got Thomas Edison with the wax cylinder reels, which is super popular for at the beginning. But the Emil Berliner founds the United States Gramophone Company in 1894, and his main innovation is exactly this type of flat wax gramophone disc. It doesn't become vinyl until, I think, after World War II, but that sort of flat disc is brand new, in vogue, dominating the market share in the gramophone market in this, right in 1912 here.
Technology in this game is weird, but that is nice to see.
I know, right?
Both.
Obviously we got a lot of, all of this kind of saying, you know, what is historical accuracy? But it's nice when they have little callouts to actual things in here. And just like, you know, the outfits here are really good high society. Like,
oh, absolutely.
Big fan of these outfits. Thank you. We just got ourselves high on bath salts. Yay!
This is reminding me of just some medicine from the time, because to treat influenza, there was a company in England and also, I think, America that was selling carbolic acid balls, or what did they call them? Anyway, they were little balls of rubber that you would kind of puff up into your nose, and inside them was powdered carbolic acid. And I mean, it would, in theory, that does act as a mild antiviral because it's breaking down the plasma membrane that actually influenza viruses have, but also breaks down your plasma membrane too, and it makes it leaky, so it causes tissue damage. But
yay! And we got our first vigor. We got ourselves possession, which is not super good, but Let's see, where are we going next? We made it through the fair, sort of.
Yep.
Let's see. I'm pretty sure Booker is just good at this.
I mean, I'd hope after working in the Pinkertons and also
the U.S. Army?
U.S. Army, he'd be decent at that, but...
Yep. But I don't actually care about any of those, so where is Onward? I think we've wasted enough time in our old-timey... Incredibly old-timey town.
You need to possess the robots.
Oh, do I?
At the gate, yeah.
Gotcha.
And just the architecture. It looks very American Town Hall-like. It is very clear that it's evoking American symbols.
Heads.
Or tails.
Come on, let me through. Heads.
Oh yeah, him wrecking the temple. Yeah,
Tails.
That's in the gospel, but
Told you.
who was it? I'll actually check the reference for
Chin-up.
which book it was,
I
but
suppose there is.
the son of a minister wrote a book all about that. I'm gonna go check while you...
Sounds good. I'm going to just get farther in the game. Must steal all of the money. Health kits, salts. None of those matter. I'm fine on all these. Okay. Oh boy, look at the giant stuffed balloons. Those would not look out of day on the Macy's Day Parades these days.
Yeah. No. The Founding Fathers as giant balloons is pretty fun.
It's pretty great. There's so much great. Yeah, well, you're right. This is very Wolfenstein. Except instead of Nazi propaganda, it's America propaganda.
So it's Bruce Spartan's The Man Nobody Knows. It was published in 1925, but he did publish several works much earlier on a similar subject. He was the son of a congregational minister, and yeah, he was, at least in the book I have here, it says he recast Christ as a virile outdoorsman and a hustling, shrewd businessman. So, you can go check that out, but I do not have that book, and I can't explain his position exactly.
And now, the 1912 raffle.
Okay, but like, I don't want to go.
Oh, this part.
Fine.
No.
Silly. There's never a charge for the raffle. You've been sleeping under a rock?
77.
77. That's a lucky number.
Booker, you were explicitly told, don't do this.
The bowl. Is that not the prettiest young white girl
Booker has a
in
habit
all
of just
Columbia?
not doing what he should, but...
Booker has -7 brain cells. The alcohol killed them all.
Number 77.
Oh, what do you know?
Number 77, come and claim your prize.
Yep.
First round.
Oh boy. Oh boy. I'd rather not.
Please, what are you doing? Come on. Are you gonna throw it, or are you taking?
Yeah, we're gonna chuck it at your fucking face.
Yeah, this imagery is genuinely awful.
Yeah.
In so many ways.
Yep.
I don't think I need to explain this, but...
Bitch.
Wait. It's him.
Now, where'd you get that brand, boy? Don't you know that makes you the backstabbing snake in the grass false shepherd?
Yep, I'm quite proud of it.
And we ain't letting no false shepherd into our
No.
flock. Show them what we got planned, boys.
And gore warning.
Stop him! The false shepherd's got the lead on Laramus.
Yeah, this part's bad.
Yep.
At least score-wise. It is.
So... I don't want to do that. I'm totally okay with just killing them normally. I don't need the executions.
Honestly, I feel that in so many games where they have executions, I just would rather not, but...
Can I get a gun somewhere, though? Like, please? Strictly unneeded.
Hopefully one of these guys will have
Oh,
one.
good, you've got one. Thank you. We're good. 106 bullets. God damn.
That's
a lot of bullets.
I don't
I'm
know
on
why
New Game
this guy
Plus,
had
though.
So many.
Right, I think it's because I got the golden gun.
Uh...
Oh. Bye. Bye. So, a lot just happened there. Shall we run it down? So, the game for the raffle is using baseballs to the most American of sports, to stone to death an interracial couple.
And yeah,
But
as
note,
sorry.
These cages are for black people. But the other half of that is we have a brand AD on our hand, which is said to be the brand of the false prophet who will destroy Columbia. I mean, fair play to it, we will. He's not wrong.
Rightfully so.
Look at that fire rate. No fear. We're good. Oh yeah, I have infinite ammo. I have infinite ammo. That's hysterical.
Oh. We're definitely the good guys for destroying Columbia here. I don't see a problem with being the false shepherd.
By the way, though, there was also... I mean, we got one of these, which is cool. We have all the guns listed there, but we also got a new Voxphone record.
Yes, Pink.
Mm-hmm.
Our local robber baron, or titan of industry, however you had that AP history debate back in high school if you're
correct.
American.
Literally everyone had that. I think everyone had that AP history debate.
Yep.
Every AP US history classroom in the United States has that exact debate, when there really isn't all that much room for a debate. Because the answer is obviously they abuse their power to make themselves exorbitantly wealthy and happen to innovate several important things on the way. Anyway, I told you, Comstock, you sell in paradise and the customers expect cherubs for every chore. No menials in God's kingdom. Well, I have a man in Georgia who leaves us as many bad words as you can board. While you can say they're simple souls, in penance for rising above their station. Whatever eases your conscience, I suppose. Bad words.
That just drips with KKK and generally South past Civil War rhetoric. Rising past their station is something that was repeatedly said by different people from that time, because Reconstruction went poorly and they just reintroduced a lot of Southern, I guess, a lot of the Southern way of life, which involved oppression of minorities.
Correct. Yeah, obviously, slavery as such has, in 1912 does not exist. However, we are thoroughly, solidly, and completely past the collapse of Reconstruction and the instatement of sharecropping. And so, I don't know exactly when penal servitude gets established as sort of a codified fine thing in American law, but it is. And it still is in some states. California, for one, actually still has effectively convict slavery, as a legally allowable thing.
Yep, because the amendments getting rid of slavery has that one
explicitly did not get rid of convict slavery.
Yes. It is worth noting that the KKK did not exist in 1912. It was reestablished in 1915.
In between the two iterations of the KKK.
But that
on a technicality. Also, this game I don't think actually needs to care about that. Right, if they want the clan to exist, they can have the clan exist. The 3 years will not make a huge difference. Sir? Sir. Sir.
Kiss. You only live once.
So the first fight with one of these fire guys. So luckily it went pretty well.
It went pretty well by virtue of having infinite ammo.
Yes.
Ah, I love New Game Plus. Because, yeah, I have played this game before, but literally 2 computers ago, it has been years. So I didn't think it preserved my save data. It did preserve my save data.
That wasn't no sample.
Okay, press.
I do like these animations here.
Oh yeah, those little. I mean, they're very Fallout, right?
Yeah.
It's clear. Oh, we don't actually have infinite. We just have almost infinite. I actually have gone down from 108. I'm at 83. I'm at 83.
How will we ever survive?
Bye. Sir, why are you not on fire?
Also, just because 4th of July was so near, there are fireworks all over the place. I really wish you could set them off. It would be so satisfying to just set off fireworks aimed at any of Columbia's buildings.
True.
Not the pretty ones, but the ones that actually enforce the system.
I mean, I'm not going to be picky at this point.
True.
Because unfortunately, you know, this beautiful, beautiful brownstone is not exactly... while it is not particularly expensive housing by any means, it's not the elite of the elite, like we kind of think of in sort of Old Town these days. Right, downtowns, wealthier districts, non-suburban urban areas, all kind of lean into the brownstone as an aesthetic, but in the period, it's pretty middling. But it still revolves around a whole lot of resources coming in from somewhere.
Very true.
So
it all is.
In some ways, it's
every
kind of
part of it is
all emblematic.
To, yeah.
If we gotta burn it all, some stuff has gotta get burned down, and if we burn some stuff down that is pretty in the way, or along the way, so be it.
So of course, we both know this game takes a stance against burning things down. So
yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there like next stream. Hey, Season Pass awarded me 4 gear pieces, a golden machine gun upgrade, and a golden pistol upgrade. Hysterical. Let's go. You must collect all of your rewards before continuing to Monument Island. Fine. Nice. Fine. Let's look at the early days of Columbia, though.
Oh,
well, the early days propaganda of it. They do the silent films so well. Columbia begins her journey to be America something or other. Finn. You gotta get the old-timey radio announcer voice. The Prophet stands up to foes, within and without. 1901, the Chinese boxers take hostage American innocents. The Prophet and Columbia stand up for America. What thanks does Columbia get? Tragic. We stand behind the Prophet.
Oh yes, we're definitely getting the Boxer Rebellion here.
Oh yeah, the 3 things, right, the 3 defining events of the museum are Wounded Knee, the Boxer Rebellion, and one of the Pinkerton riots. I don't remember exactly which one, but there were like 12 of them in the period, so...
Also, Columbia starting in 1893, literally the year of the World Fair in Chicago.
Yeah. Wait, 92 is the Columbian Exposition.
No, I'm pretty sure it was 93.
Is it?
I just know it from the World Parliament of Religion, but...
I wonder if it was both. Yeah, okay, you're right. It started in May. May of 93.
And so, yeah.
Or May, yeah, May of 1893.
Exposition, Columbia. there's a very clear link there.
Why
Yeah.
are you following me?
And of course, city planning wise, you know, the whole white city they have it going on, trying to create an idealized model city separate from, you know, the organic but messy Chicago with, you know, plenty of immigrants and what they would consider as less desirable people. And this Columbia is basically that in many ways. A very ordered, very white city.
Yep. It is truly the ideal for 1910s white elite America.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, gear? Since we got some hats, I mean, since we've got it, we may as well use it. Because one of these is super busted. I mean, all of these are super busted, but that ammo advantage is unbelievably busted.
Nice.
Oh, that is nice.
Like, that is 75% additional ammo capacity. So if I reload, 21 bullets in my pistol.
Oh,
Oh.
yeah, that's
Oh yeah.
very good.
Oh yeah, we're in this.
Of course, these are some very nice upgrades that they're just giving you.
Appreciate the fact that I didn't even actually buy the full season pass, because I bought this game so late. I bought this game so late that it just gave me all the season pass goodies for free. Anyway, another audio log from Ed Gaines. Father Comstock called on me today to write his biograph, me, the man who pays for exactly 100 pages in advance. Now I'm half a Jew when I smell silver, so I say, Father,
Oh boy.
your flock would pay for 1,000, you know, why settle for less? And then the prophet looks to me and says, 100 will suffice, as I know how it ends. Alright. Choices.
Yeah.
Yep.
Choices with
I mean, they get the language and the casual issues of the period. I mean, they do nail it, and this is not really a
No! Damn hook must be magnetized.
statement of, oh yeah, look at how terrible the game is. Right, the game is nailing a historical ugliness in a way that is...
Oh, sorry.
What?
I was gonna say, I honestly think that's one of the most horrifying parts, how it shows how casual it all was.
And this is kind of a good thing, I think, because for the most part, the historical games often just kind of set that to the side.
Yeah. They either erase it or they make a big deal out of it, to the point where it's hard for the audience to even believe that people would say things like that.
I mean, and they should make a big deal about it, because you can't not make a big deal of it.
True. It's just, in this game,
it's just...
The way it's presented is casually, rather than, oh, one bad character. No, everyone
Exactly.
in Colombia is like this.
Where are you? No, seriously, where are you? There's someone shooting at me and I don't know where you are.
I have no idea.
Question marks. I hear you.
I will take this moment to mention how a lot of biographies of revivalists at the time were very propagandistic in certain ways. They weren't... Using them as an actual historical account is iffy, but to understand their mindset and their beliefs is very helpful. Like, again, bringing it back to Dwight Moody or like people like Ron Wilbur Chapman. Their biographies from the time period, I'd rely less on, but I would use that for a glimpse into how they thought. So the biography of Comstock would very much be that way. It's pretty much just his beliefs and making him seem like an amazing person who served God.
Yep.
I also just really like these airships. I don't know.
These airships
I
are
love
super good
in most games, and these are nice.
Bye.
It's a shame you can't. Oh, you can break that glass. I was gonna say, it's a shame you can't break that glass and just shoot him from behind,
but yes, you can.
Nice.
Also, I have a big old problem called I have 47 bullets. Actually, it's not a problem because I have 130 other bullets, but meh.
Almost out of the machine gun ammo, and that's important.
Exactly. Ugh. Jeez, I just tapped out. This control menu is not, or this control scheme is kind of garbage. I won't lie.
Oh dear.
You're a progressive? You're a progressive.
Okay.
I mean...
But, I mean, progressive
like
for 1912.
a bull moose? Bull moose party. Right, Teddy Roosevelt's okay? Yes? Liar.
You know, I'm surprised there's not more Teddy Roosevelt in this.
I am not surprised. Right,
True. Politically, he doesn't align with Comstock, but he's, at least in the modern sense, very much shown as, like, American exceptionalism or American imperialism, more or less.
Exactly. But, right, he super doesn't align with Comstock, and he is still contemporary.
True. Yeah, this is only 1912.
Oh goddammit, I think I lost the key to that chest, because the guy phased through the floor when I shot him.
Oh no.
That's a big rip. Audio log number next. Since they don't play the what's its faces? Or the subtitles when they do the audio logs, we're just gonna read them quick here. Oh no, he just doesn't have a key. Okay. Neat. Feathered Brothers. Okay. So we have to go deal with the cult within the cult first.
Surrender.
No. You can't make me. Fine. What else can we look at in here? I mean, I love that, but,
I love the books. That would be nice. To have a house even slightly like this.
Yes. I would die for a house like this. That's only a little bit of an exaggeration.
And of course, even in the houses, there's American images everywhere. Because this game is not subtle about its America.
You're required to be unbelievably orthodox in your pro-America, even though Colombia seceded from America.
Yeah. Which... Yeah, it's odd that it succeeded from America, yet still so patriotic, but you could get very topical with a certain incident that happened in July and dig into that, but I don't know how you want me to go about that. I can just leave it at that.
Wow! Hang on, wait! The game calls out the argument the game makes. Utterly wild.
The one they're after. Go.
You know, this game has a lot of good critiques in theory,
Right, because
But
it just
this
made
doesn't follow through on that.
the debate of oh. Hello, friend.
All right, let's move on.
We're sneaky. We're being sneaky. But right, they just had the classic argument of it. Given an unjust situation, is violence an appropriate response? The classic neoliberal argument. I mean, there's a little bit of big ol' we must save them because they aren't going to save themselves, which is yikes out of 10. But
it is.
That's all right. For
it
the
was present in. Oh, sorry.
Yeah,
I mean, it was present in abolitionist circles and even after that, but like there were charities set up because they're like, we need to help them because they can't help themselves. Which, yikes. Maybe it's more the economic situation we create for them, but
I know. Oh, it's almost like there might be reasons why they're not allowed to help themselves. Not I can't, not allowed to. That should work. I did kill it? Run that one by me again? Okay. Aww.
we did just pass a kind of whole Wild West. Well, we're still kind of in it. Wild West. And that kind of gets into American.
Oh damn it, you're immune to fire. Crap.
How that makes it harder, but there is the whole myth of the Wild West, you know, a lawless America that kind of never really happened because America was big on sending its troops out west to secure its frontiers, and also
Correct.
various train stations and other groups. So
yes,
it wasn't. There was never a lawless Wild West, but it is part of American consciousness of like a self-made person going out there and conquering the untamed wilderness.
exactly. It is specifically, you know, was it Buffalo Bill Cody's Wild West show?
Yes.
Traveled in a bunch of wagons much like this. Right, this is actually a pretty good representation of the image. And let's see if this guy is sounding like, see if this guy sounds like it. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Well, that's a yikes. So this guy's actually not acting much at all like Buffalo Bill, actually.
Oh yeah.
That's a whole ass. That is an entire yikes.
Yeah, that's
right.
a
Buffalo
lot
Bill
there
was
with
actually Buffalo Bill was actually fairly progressive as far as things go. Certainly was well respected by a whole lot of people. I'm just gonna buy up as much of that as I can. And then we're actually on full health because turns out that was we are incredibly overpowered right now.
Perfect. It just
Oh,
makes
yeah, we
us
are
more
full.
prepared for all these little issues, and then we actually get thrown with a big problem later on that maybe
Yeah,
we'll deal with.
I mean, we're gonna stay pretty darn overpowered.
Fair. And
This is
yeah,
not a game where the difficulty curve will catch up to you.
Well, that just makes more time for us to talk about everything going on then.
Exactly. Right, you guys didn't want to. Oh.
And yeah, looking at the
Bye.
stats.
Nope. 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 Nope.
Oh.
Nope. Nope.
Oh boy.
Nope. 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 Nope.
Just
Nope.
saw that. Okay. Yes. No.
Nope.
Can
Nope.
we
Nope.
avoid
Nope.
that?
Aw. It doesn't even let me fall gloriously.
But looking in the chat, yeah, there are definitely Confederate states that claimed
Yes.
Lincoln was illegitimate. There were several of them.
Uh-huh. Yeah, Peter Emrys says, I know that there's another one, i.e. Mississippi, that's in its Declaration of Secession, called slavery the greatest material interest in the world.
Yeah, they were very clear about it being caused by slavery, but
Uh-huh.
lost cause.
And
myth, because
KJ, yeah, it's actually not at all off topic for this stream. Unfortunately, Confederate imagery just freaking permeates this game. And a lot of, while it's unlikely that DeWitt himself would have participated in the Civil War, he's a generation too late for that. A lot of the ideas that the game kind of relies around are specifically perpetrated by veterans of the Civil War.
Yep. The Grand Army of the Republic, a veterans organization after the Civil War, was instrumental in actually bringing about American civil religion, like Flag Day and emphasis on U.S. flags is solely because of them and organizations like them.
Mm-hmm.
And
Additionally,
of course, when it gets to Confederate stuff, it's all throughout here.
Yep. Additionally, Custer was a Civil War vet.
Yep.
So, when we're thinking about the Lakota Wars, or broadly the Plains Indian Wars, that's just... The Civil War is a great place to start, and in fact, the bigotries, etc., present within the Union is a great place to start.
Mm-hmm. There were, of course, just because the Union was fighting against the South and also resulted in freeing slaves, did not make them good people and did not make them free of bigotry. And also, look, there's just a statue.
Speaking of which,
John Wilkes Booth. That is very well timed.
Very
well timed.
This was totally intentional, we promise. Anyway, the most important thing, I need to read books. Because they actually have modeled all the books to actually have text in them that is legible.
Please,
which is
game,
pretty based on them.
That is, I love it, but please, game, let us read the books.
It looks like this is just some sort of, ledger for something. I can't make out what.
Yeah, I can't either. It does look a lot like a ledger of some sort, but... Yeah, we got... Oh, they have the slogan too. Wonderful. Sic Semper Tyrannis, because they really hate Lincoln.
They really hate Lincoln.
Basically, a lot of the Lost Cause myth you'll see in here as well.
Yeah,
so
it's kind of a defining idea here, so why don't you talk about that while I shoot more people?
If anyone does contact me later, if you get in touch with me, I can give you a paper that talks about this more in depth, about how after the Civil War, the Lost Cause narrative was really propagated by Confederate veterans and Confederate veteran relatives who basically were trying to reconcile the fact that they lost the war, and they promoted the idea that, oh, it was a lost cause, they were never going to win, and they were fighting a noble fight against the brutal North, or the War of Northern Aggression as they called it, even though that's not historically accurate at all. And due to organizations like the United Daughters of the Confederacy, it became a very ingrained part of Southern popular consciousness and civil religion. It basically becomes baked into a Southern civil religion to honor basically a trinity of Lee, Jefferson, and Davis. Well, Lee, Jackson, and Davis, not Jefferson. Lee, Jackson, and Davis, Stonewall Jackson, Robert E. Lee, and Jefferson Davis. Those three basically make up saintly figures, just like how we were talking about with the Founding Fathers being somewhat considered saintly figures. Here you'll see John Wilkes Booth with a halo pointing a gun at a demon-horned Lincoln. And that veneration of, Booth, who even after the war was done, kind of got a final act of victory. That is a big part of the Lost Cause, and just how the South will kind of finally be victorious in some way. And so it definitely becomes overtly religious whenever, my professor actually talked about how Robert E. Lee paintings were in their school when they were growing up, and so it's still very much around today. Reconstruction did help with the narrative, because Reconstruction was kind of a mess, all things considered. So it wasn't entirely unwarranted in some ways, but overall it's a really harmful idea to actually studying history, and is still around today in so many different ways, and I hate it so much. But
Also, on the topic of Reconstruction, right? Reconstruction largely suffers thanks to Rutherford B. Hayes completely neutering federal support for Reconstruction in order to get elected.
Yep.
Right? A lot of the parts of it that make it seem justified are directly a result of elite Southern resistance to Reconstruction, causing the complete neutering of the project and the goals of the project.
Mm-hmm. The final result of the Southern elites retaining their power and position really helped solidify that, yes, the South will maintain these ideas of the lost cause, and also basically was the final nail in the coffin for Reconstruction, that it basically failed in its goals, because they're still in power, they're still doing what they were doing.
Well, this ties obviously directly into the whole premise of Confederate statues and the ongoing debate to remove them. The vast majority of Confederate statues in the United States were erected in the decade in 1910, give or take 10 years.
Yep. The United Daughters of the Confederacy once again were advocates in pushing for constructing those statues and memorializing these honestly awful figures, and basically whitewashing in some ways all of the wrongs that the Confederacy did to make it seem more honorable and better. Because the Union did this in some ways too. During the war, you saw a lot of how the Union made it a moral and religious war, saying that they were fighting on the side of God. Like the Battle Hymn of the Republic is a great example. Also, these look very much like Klansmen, but
they do. We'll take a look at some.
Yeah, even after the war, the Grand Army of the Republic did a lot of the same thing to make the Union seem a lot better. But that doesn't make the Lost Cause any better just because the Union changed the narrative too.
And the Battle Hymn, it's worth noting, starts off as an abolitionist song. I mean, it is John Brown's body long before it is the Battle Hymn of the Republic.
It is.
And that's still not the first iteration of that song. Since the out-of-time music is such an important part of this. Right? It absolutely is, has a history before being a Unionist song and an abolitionist song, but it is long before the Civil War already that, and so it's not subtle about its politics, and changing the lyrics largely preserved the politics.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
Good lord.
Battle Hymn of the Republic really exemplifies a lot of the efforts to make it a moralizing conflict, even though it kind of already is, but to emphasize that in popular consciousness. Also, that mural is terrible.
Also, you were saying that these people look like Klansmen.
Yes. They look like Klansmen with Masonic images too. Like
absolutely, 100%. It's about, I'd agree, it's like 75% Klan and 25% Freemasons.
Yes, which gets into ideas of, the Klan was a very Protestant group in the wake of the Civil War to try and, keep the Southern social order and protect what they thought was proper American/Confederate life. And it was very much a secret society. Combine that with Freemasonry, which secret society in some ways that was influential in the founding, a lot of founding fathers were Masons. You can really see where they took the inspiration from, and combining basically Confederate and Founding Father imagery.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Screw it. Let's run back and grab that chest. We'll probably not do this all the time, but we've got enough things to talk about. I don't want to keep going and keep introducing more things.
Oh yeah, the Emancipation Proclamation, very
By the way,
important in pivoting it towards
in
morals.
terms of, you know, Freemason occultic imagery, the Latin with the 5 swords and the all-seeing eye here
True.
is
True,
about
I
as
didn't notice
strongly
that.
Masonic as you can get.
Yeah.
We
that
dare
is-
to defend our fatherland, is what that reads, by the way.
That just reeks of the Klan. And also just Protestant beliefs about God and family and fatherland. So, it is very clearly inspired by the Klan. And Masonry, but Masonry has less of the overt history as the Klan does.
Yeah. I mean, the Masons broadly occupy a really weird space of being simultaneously super gross in their own right, with a lot of racialized and anti-Semitic features, but also being severely, broadly, dramatically less bad than a lot of their, the rumors about them actually were.
Yeah.
Because a lot of that was especially anti-German, immigration.
Yeah, there's a lot of different things going on in late 19th century America.
There's just so much. There's not an easy account.
Anti-society, anti-immigrant, anti-everything, basically.
Yeah. Did I nail it? I think I nailed it.
Flawless landing.
Thank you, thank you. There it is. There's nothing in here. Totally worthwhile, I promise. God damn it.
It feels weird to not reward you for going all that way back.
There is a
At
new
least
game.
something.
There is a new game.
Oh, okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, now we have the satisfaction that we checked. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, I like these flyer printers. I just super like it. And the wallpaper, actually.
Mm-hmm.
This is an actual historical piece. I can't remember what it is, but I know this is ringing a bell as as this specific image is a cutout from an actual historical piece.
Same. I'm really blanking on where it's from. So if someone in chat knows, definitely say so. But I definitely recognize this. Is it from a statue with Lincoln?
Potentially, yeah. There's a couple statues that were erected by formerly enslaved people. That now are, like, kind of weird in their own right. Because the imagery did not age well.
It did not.
But
it's very submissive.
Yes. But there are some paintings and statues of sort of broadly the black folk giving praise to Lincoln for freeing them.
Mm-hmm.
By the way, none of these portraits have nameplates on them, and 0 out of 10. I take back everything good I said.
I mean, they could have just gone with a fake name, but okay.
Wait, we have killed far more than 8 people. If we're going to do ultra-violence, radio announcer, give our ultra-violence the drama it deserves. Shaking my head. Only killing 8 people? Come on.
Yeah.
Come on.
We killed just Colin to the radio. Well, not call in, but send a telegram to the radio station. Hey, you gotta up those numbers.
Exactly. We should just call
More
it.
dangerous than that.
We're at least at like 35. I don't think we need any of these, cause golden machine gun's OP, and golden pistol's more OP.
Very true.
Shove.
Film projectors. That is a good. I'm wondering if they were around. The first film projectors.
Yeah. They first emerged in the 1890s. One of the first synced ones of video and audio was actually made by Thomas Edison, but someone had to manually time the audio.
Oh no! Oh yeah, that's tricky.
Yeah. But yeah, that was in like what, 91 or 92.
So definitely plausible to have it in 1912.
Yeah, they were all over the place. Huh. That being said... Oh boy!
Oh. I mean, I guess we are still in this place, but like... Oh no.
Phrenology, you love to see the scientific racism. And by love, I mean despise. It is correct to have it in this time period. It is all over the place. Like, freaking everywhere. One thing that's interesting... Yup.
Yeah,
give me the, just give me the bullets.
Walls.
Give me the bullets, please. Okay. I want to take a look at how they're portraying Comstock again in this, because when I saw it, it looked like it was missing something.
Oh.
Oh no, there it is. Okay, we're good. We're good. It's there. The main name to know in connection with the sort of study of phrenology, as sort of not the name of a person, but as an object that inspires way too many people to try and do these studies, is a statue known as the Apollo Belvedere, which supposedly represented human perfection, according to the scientific racists. So this idealized Greek face with the incredibly long pointed aquiline nose that Comstock has right there, and the angle of the face being perfectly flat relative to it, is 100% derived from this one Greek statue that was like super popular in the, I think it was found in like the 1860s, and was just incredibly immediately popular. Oof. Peter says, I went to UPenn for undergrad. I once had a class in the room where they stored the Morden skull collection. Morden is literally like one of, if not the, foundational figure of 19th century scientific racism. Go on.
Oh no. This part.
Yeah, that guy got wrecked. Jerk. Okay, fun. Well, who's ready for a boss fight? True. I thought I held it long enough. There we go.
Please remove my foot.
There. Yeah.
Not even hard. Not even hard.
What kind of vigor? That's a hell of a thing.
The statue of Lady Comstock in the center. Again, we've seen that before, but just drawing attention again to it as kind of a model of a Victorian woman who, just a symbol of piety, because the Victorians had some interesting ideas about gender roles, and of course that's no shocker, but women, at least women being models of piety for the family as much as fathers were guiding figures, was just as important. And so you see a lot of, like, even in Catholic thought, you'll see certain Marian apparitions and certain saints. Or in Protestant thought, you'll see even female revivalists who take on this role of they're a holy woman, and they are more spiritually enlightened because they are chaste and abstinent, or whatever quality it is that they're appealing to.
Yep. I would agree. And again, right, this is clearly not Marian imagery. I think that's not the right angle to be approaching this from, because there are other female divine and or pseudo-divine imageries in Protestant thought than just the Catholic cult of Saint Mary. Or
definitely agree.
Of the Virgin Mary, I should say. And this is very much leaning into other ideas. What's this on top of your... Pew. Pew pew. There's a shiny in her eyeball, and it is red, and it is not in her other eye, and I am confused.
I don't know what to think about that.
I don't know, and I can't get up there to actually get a better look. There's just a shiny red eye in an otherwise marble, therefore evoking classical imagery and images of purity without actually being in any meaningful way classical in structures. Except facial. Facial structure is extremely classical. What? Well, then
Monument Island from that station.
we should just be able to put our gun away and just roll out, right?
Yeah, they're not gonna find you with that description.
Exactly. Just put our guns away, stick our hands in our pockets, and roll out. We're fine.
Yeah. I was gonna say, besides the crow hand, you're...
Don't worry about the crow. We'll just switch to something nicer. See? Why do I not... No. Wait. Q.
They got that description from racism and also anti-immigrant sentiment.
Yes. Yes, they did. And absolutely nowhere else. Oh man. You need the imagery of the Columbian Exposition.
Oh... Definitely.
That's
that
the
is
Pennsylvania
so
building is.
Yep.
The only surviving building from the 1893 Columbian Exposition, by the way, is the Museum of Science and Industry in Chicago.
Oh really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the rest of it burned down in a fire in '96. A few years after the exhibition, most of it burned down.
That's unfortunate that most of it burned down, but... Well, I guess... I want to say it was unfortunate, but there were also human zoos in the exhibition, so... Less keen on those.
Yeah, yeah. Also, it's... I mean, a lot of the modern Hyde Park, Kenwood area is able to be built up because it burns down. A lot of it is still park space. It's that area right on the lake. But all the way along the Midway, it ran all the way to the University of Chicago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that space, although it was designed to be a model city, they didn't want anyone sticking around there. It was meant to be kind of idealized and put on a pedestal, and no one, just kind of get rid of all those crowds. have your ideal city.
Good lord. We've got a few things to go for here. One from Comstock. And when the Angel Columbia gave unto the founders the tools to build the new Eden, they did so without hesitation. For 85 years they prepared the way of the Lord. When the great apostate came, he brought war with him, and the fields of Eden were soaked with the blood of brothers. The only emancipation he had to offer was death. So that is, I mean, the great apostate is Abraham Lincoln.
Yep.
What exactly was the great emancipator emancipating the bleep from his daily bread, from the nobility of honest work, from wealthy patrons who sponsored them from cradle to grave, from clothing and shelter, and what have they done with their freedom? Well, go to Finkton and you shall find out. No animal is born free except the white man. And it is our burden to care for the rest of creation. Oh boy!
Oh,
you love when they come out and say all the garbage.
Straight up white man's burden there.
See you, Raptors. We'll be back next week, by the way. As it looks like a couple people have had to trickle out, so just know we're doing this every week, as long as we can, schedule permitting. So we may have to have weeks off here and there, but yes, Kipling alert. Right. Rudyard Kipling explicitly calls it the white man's burden, but the ideas are circulating long before and long after him, and he is hardly their only or most vocal proponent.
Yep, he wrote a lot of poetry around both imperialism and, racism.
Yeah.
Mostly imperialism.
Yep. And he is working out of a slightly different context, right? Kipling is working out of the English colonization of India, and framing that as a good thing, not operating out of a post-Civil War, post-Reconstruction American context. And that does change things, right? That is meaningful, but...
One of his poems is about basically Britain calling out to all its colonies, and colonies in a feminized form responds back. And it's very different than, the descriptions of the South, even though Dixie is sometimes feminized in Confederate rhetoric. That's more typical of just how propaganda works. Feminize the South, make it seem all innocent and pure, and it was defiled by the Northerners, and then you have some effective emotional propaganda there.
Yep. Meanwhile, we actually have historical painting alert, Treaty of Yorktown. I don't remember who made this one, but actual painting. That exists. I'm like 89% sure this is Yorktown.
Yeah, that definitely looks like it.
I'm just gonna put away the that gun. Don't mind me. Does that look anything like me? I don't think that looks anything like me.
Oh, this just...
Sorry, sir?
brings up so many cases in the past of, people being blamed for crimes they didn't do because they fit a vague description. All that.
They recognized me anyway, though, which, unlucky.
Yeah, I don't feel like you're showing off your hand, and no one noticed your hand until you went to go throw the ball. So, I don't know how they're just recognizing you off the bat with that description, but...
Don't know. Well, this is just the manners, but inverted. But right, that doesn't look much like us. Oh well.
Oh yeah. The fear of anarchists, I feel, is more a European thing, because at the time that was a very big threat, as anarchists have, at least during that time period, tried assassinating various royal family members or nobility.
Joseph Conrad has a whole book about it.
Yeah.
Actually a really good book too. Not gonna lie. Really good read.
Joseph Conrad has... I like his writing, but...
I don't like Heart of Darkness, I like basically everything else he's written.
Yeah. That's very fair. Heart of Darkness is... A book.
That is a good way to sum it up, isn't it? I don't think we can even get out that way, so we just did murders for no particular reason. Huh. Darn.
But,
The game doesn't feel bad about us doing ultraviolence, so I don't think I'm going to feel bad about us doing ultraviolence.
True, McKinley was killed by an anarchist. That is fair. So yeah, there were fears of anarchists. I was going to say there were some fears of anarchists. I'm much more familiar with after the 1917, Russian Revolution. After that, a lot of Americans got concerned about Bolshevism and the Bolsheviks and how, at least conservative evangelicals were very concerned about, oh, they're trying to stomp out religion. What if it comes to the US? So it's not quite the Red Scare at that point, but it was...
But there is sort of a proto-Red Scare at that point.
Yeah, it was an earlier Red Scare, not quite fully formed. There are a lot of different... I've seen a lot of different evangelical cartoons talking about different dangers facing America and, Christianity. And it lists Bolshevism alongside biblical higher criticism or historical critical method. And it's just really funny to me to see a political movement labeled next to an academic movement. And they're all seen as equal threats to more evangelical strains of Christianity.
Wow.
It should be noted that while evangelicals in the modern day are not quite part of the mainstream, it was very much in the norm during the 19th century. Also straight up showing a hair in that image.
Actually, no, sorry, we're going to do this again because I want to do the old-timey announcer voice because it's fun.
Oh, okay.
Uncanny mystery in Colombia. Colombia marvels and fears at unfamiliar sights. What is it? What are these astonishments which appear and disappear? Colombia's greatest mind isn't sailed. I don't get a lot of chances to pull out that voice. I gotta take advantage of them.
Yeah.
It's the one voice I can do really well.
It's perfect. Oh yeah, a lot of good points being brought up in the chat about history and the revolution. I'm just explaining how the American perspective was that the Tsar was overthrown and a godless society was put up. And in the Cold War, that got really emphasized how the US is the Christian nation versus the godless heathen. But, yeah. I do like the crow ability you have, compared to the other vigors you can use. The crow one is very nice.
The crow one is good fun. And unlike, a game like Dishonored, where I actually have to, care about using the powers, the big swarm of animal kill people powers, where, that might actually have a consequence on the world.
Wow, imagine having consequences for your violence. Couldn't be
Bioshock. Yeah, Chad, I think really the takeaway here is that 19th century America was afraid, or 19th century elite white America, I should clarify, was afraid of literally everything.
Yes.
Including itself.
anything that was not the status quo, and also the status quo.
Exactly.
A lot of the revivals at this time were using the same themes of nostalgia for an old-time religion and revival of that. And although they are talking about an old-time religion and trying to enhance that, I've seen scholars argue that it's not an enforcement of that status quo, but actually a critique of it. And so even though this very widely supported thing, of course there were critics of it, the wide support for the movement of revivalism between the Civil War and the 1920s was very strong, it still was critiquing society, even though it did enforce a lot of American mainstream society. So it's in a weird paradox.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, reminds you of Lovecraft. Lovecraft, he was a little more extreme than some of his contemporaries, but yes.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, the famous statement is, oh yeah, look at something like, you know, his words. The name of Lovecraft's cat, which wasn't named by him, it was named by his father, but was hardly the only person in the period to have a cat whose name, by virtue of being black-furred.
We're sorry to say that Monument Island is off limits. You've got to go. Workmen should proceed to the island by means of the skyline.
Thank you, Random Voice. Anyway, right, his name was the N-word. The name of Lovecraft's cat just was the N-word. It wasn't the only person in the period to have that name, or to name their cat that.
Whoa!
Hey, Kurabachi! Oh, who's shooting at me? Who the heck is shooting?
Love how you just get on a rail and suddenly have momentum to move down it.
Suddenly have a lot of momentum to just zoom around. We zooming!
Yep.
We really zooming, holy. We just wound up right back where we started. Awkward. Look at this building though. I love this building. This building is gorgeous.
Yeah.
I love it.
If only it wasn't in this society.
Yeah,
it is a very nice building. And yeah, Lovecraft was genuinely unwell, wider society was not, but it still had the same fear of outsiders and insiders and secrets and political dissonance, as well as the mainstream organizations and institutions. So it was all over the place. And depending on who you were in society, you could fear various others, and the way that the other was constructed in the late 19th century is very interesting.
Yes. Well, alcohol. This'll make it easier. Yeah, drinking when our health is full has no benefit. They say that.
Just what the doctor ordered.
Except that they forgot that we're a noir protagonist. They just straight up forgot that we are a noir protagonist. And therefore, need to drink more. Also, we recover from drunkenness very quickly.
True, that is either...
That was a very short drunkenness.
Yes.
Again, I'm not sure who's saying that they're going to kill me.
There's just some guy just on a random ledge, just shouting out.
I found him. Yeah, it was truly just this guy right here.
Then how did he even know you were there?
No clue whatsoever.
In 1912, we aren't at Prohibition yet, so all this alcohol is fine. We did secede from America in Colombia, so
it wouldn't affect us anyway.
Fine.
There were increasing temperance movements in this time period. We're getting close to the 18th Amendment, and how many of those were tied into chase Protestantism.
A lot of them.
A lot of them.
The Women's Christian Temperance Movement. No, the Women's Christian Temperance Union. I mixed up the last word. But that movement, along with just so many others, were really big on temperance because some preachers even said drunkenness is worse than cholera, which in the at least the article I was reading was
that's a hot take.
The 1880s, so cholera is not good for anyone to get, but it really emphasized how big they were on prohibition and temperance in general, because if you're comparing a very life-threatening disease to drunkenness, yes, alcoholism is terrible, but at the same time, comparing the two is very, very spicy. And seeing that comparison is just really emblematic of how seriously they took temperance and prohibition. It wasn't just a few puritanical people, it was a wider base. Oh yeah, 1880s. I was a lot of cholera at that time. I was reading those articles to try and learn about different reactions from a religious standpoint to the cholera epidemics at the time. It's not as bad as the earlier epidemics in the mid-19th century.
Yeah, the 1840s are freaking terrible for it.
Yes. There's a specific instance of a annual cholera day celebrated in Thanksgiving to Saint Roch, and also Mary for delivering them from a cholera epidemic in 1849. So it's very cool, especially how religion and disease intersect, and so some of you might notice now my majors somewhat relate. But the point is that cholera is a very bad disease, and they were taking drunkenness and alcoholism very seriously in that regard.
Yep. No. Well then.
You're getting a lot closer to that Monument Island. Oh, sorry?
Well, oh, I just was musing. I got an achievement progress for vigorous opposition. And I'm not actually sure why. Because I meleeed a guy. I didn't use a vigor.
That's very weird. Okay.
I don't know. The achievements in this game are all very strange. What are y'all aiming at?
Stand down.
Oh wait, those are Vox Populi. Shit.
Oh.
No, they're not. Okay, never mind.
No, they're aiming at you? Huh. Oh, it's this part. How they obey Comstock even when they're actively fighting.
Yep. I don't know what they were aiming at, but they aimed at something. Cool, they're just gonna sit there, so we're just gonna, like, jump off over here. And go sneaky sneak. And then machine gun them all.
Do you even need to sneak?
Probably not. I was hoping to kill them all through on the skyline too. It was going to be achievement progress and everything.
I mean, they're not reacting, so you still could, but
Head to the roof. Take that
I don't think that's very proper to just do it now that they're praying. Hey, if it's Hamlet rules and you kill them while they're praying and they go instantly to heaven, I don't think that's fair to them. They need to be killed for
True. Good call. Good call.
And of course, Anna.
Oh.
And now, to repay a debt, you've come from my land. But not all debts can be repaid, Booker.
You don't know me, pal.
Prophecy is my business, Mr. DeWitt. As blood is yours. You know why these men will die for me? Because I have seen their future in the glory, and hence they are content. What brought you to Columbia, Booker? bring us the girl and wipe away the debt? This will end in blood, Quid. Then again, it always does, doesn't it? It always ends in blood. You've come to lead my lamb astray, but thy crook is bent and thy path is twisted. Go back to the Sodom from which you came.
So there was Comstock.
That was our first view of Comstock. Isn't he cool, guys?
Our wonderful prophet in Colombia. We'll see him probably up there now. Still.
Explosions, kabooms, whatever.
But someone in the chat brought up, he's calling Wounded Knee and the Pinkertons as a sin. That is a very good point because they do view Wounded Knee very positively here. So it doesn't make too much sense, but the protagonist, Booker here, he carries a lot of guilt for his involvement. Hence all the drinking.
Take this thing to Monument Island.
Yep. But Booker is racked with guilt with them. And Comstock knows that Booker is racked with guilt with over them. Sorry, didn't mean to disturb you. Hello, AC. But yeah, that's definitely seems to suggest, you know, some sort of hyper-individualized faith. Right.
Yeah.
Where what is culturally, broadly good actions can be overridden by individual guilt or fears, which is super wild. And I mean, it's unclear whether Comstock, when he speaks of, you know, the glory.
I'm sure I can get this thing going.
The Lord forgives everything. But I'm just
I usually take him talking about the glory and
as a kind of a generalized thing.
I take them more to be similar to the holiness movement and sanctification, but I'm still not certain. I haven't seen a lot of it.
Got it.
But it would make sense if the ideas of personal sanctification and the wider movement going on in the late 19th century that influenced later early 20th century theology.
Yes.
And also getting his devotee to essentially commit suicide in his name.
Yep.
Because if you weren't certain this was a cult, at least in the popular consciousness sense, this is a cult.
Also kind of the more rigorous sense, I think it meets most to all of the criteria.
Yeah. Because, like that, before we streamed, Adam sent me a paper actually talking about the game and its critiques. And it brought up a very good point about how religion in this game, although it seems very much like typical American Protestantism and how that relates to American nationalism, that would be a really strong critique, but they kind of pull their punches a little bit and make it, oh no, this is an extremist group, a cult, so obviously they're bad.
Obviously.
I feel like they could have gone all the way with just making it more like mainstream Protestantism at the time, but I mean, it kind of is in how it eclectically pulls from so many different traditions, but still. The cult part is very clear.
Yep. You good for one more area here?
Oh, sure.
Awesome. Let's do it. Closed, closed, closed. Well, fine. You are correct, Flowery Space Karate. This is the beginning of a really good time for cults, wannabe prophets, false prophets, grifters, etc.
New religious movements all over the place. Late 19th century and 20th century generally are really good for that. And of course, has led, in my opinion, some people like William McClellan to falsely claim it's a third Great Awakening. Though, of course, I have strong opinions against that, but that is more historiography and unrelated to the current topic.
Yep. So we get an actual voxophone written by... I think this is the first time we've actually, like, heard a black person speak that is not begging for their life.
It is.
Which, nice. Good to be included, appreciated. And basically it's just letting us know about...
But I can tell they scared out of their wits by that thing they got locked upstairs. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
I gotta talk about it, too.
Whatever is upstairs, we got a problem.
Hang on. A run.
Also, I was interested... Right, they're not actually like pinup cards, but they're in the same vein of...
They are...
leaning into the beginnings. I mean, we are, well, 9 years away from the boom of the flappers in the early 20s. So, we are definitely trending that direction real quick.
Oh, if I just know, chat, if someone wants to hear my thoughts on the Third Great Awakening, just ping me in either Adam's or my server, and I will explain in detail, but not the time for here.
Vox Populi Crime Board. Uh-huh.
Oh, just racking up all the different crimes that the Vox have done. Apparently.
Wait, is Elizabeth actually supposed to be 17 through this whole thing?
I think so.
Holy shit, we are doing a war crime, folks. I hope you are all ready, because we are about to do so many war crimes.
Compared to literally everyone else in this game, somewhat minor.
Shh, if you say so.
Please do.
Oh.
Huh.
Well then. Good times. Good times.
Oh, in the chat they're saying this is toned down. Yeah, it's... compared to what they could have done with... rather than making it basically religious extremists that can be dismissed really easily as just religious extremists. They toned it down in some ways, but subtlety is still unknown to game developers when it comes to religion.
Uh-huh. Then again, religion of anything that resembles competent understandings of religion is still lacking in game developers.
Yeah, that is.
Right.
Wow.
Let's get to unsubtle but correct first, and then we can ask for subtlety.
It hurts, but it's true. I know, at least in my server, I've been talking a lot about a game called Blasphemous, and still iffy on it, at least how it's portraying religion, but it is not subtle at all, just like this game when it comes to religion.
I picked it up during the summer sale, so we can definitely
look.
Yep.
I love that game. I've been taking notes. I have been reading articles because I like it, and...
Hey, that's an improvement. Actually, that's not true. Once again, I am still in the part of this game that I really, 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 really like. Because while it is not subtle,
it is still
it is at least
a good story so far and a good environment.
Exactly. Well, let's go see what's in the spooky door first. No. Ha, screw you. Door must remain closed, go to hell. So, what did you say? Oh. He...
Oh, yeah, you're
he got,
definitely right in that.
He got indebted. So...
Oh, no.
What the hell are they doing to her?
Yeesh. We are doing fewer war crimes than the other guys, therefore we are good. Right? That's how that works?
Completely. That definitely makes crimes less if someone does more. There? Okay, yes, the chat seems to be in agreement that, yes, somewhere in the story, things dip down and go a lot worse. Little disagreement on where, but at least we have that down.
Uh-huh. Oh, Comstock has cancer. I feel his love in every tumor, because they are the train which takes me to his station. Comstock super has cancer.
Can you repeat what he says about feeling love in this?
Let's see. The Lord is calling me home. I feel his love in every tumor, because they are the train which takes me to his station.
Interesting. Sorry. Going off about what I was talking before about how I've been looking into late 19th century religious conceptions of disease, I have seen a lot of different takes, some of them more like that, because in a more Calvinist perspective, it's not entirely Calvinist theology, but leaning into that tradition, the sovereignty of God sending disease for a purpose is very strong during the 19th century. And so diseases like cancer or other infectious diseases even are sent for a reason, sometimes to punish people, sometimes. I saw a Methodist writer talk about how disease is to teach people, but if they get better, they've learned from it. And also just with talking about, bringing people home. I've seen reports from missionaries abroad writing back about, oh, this person died because God called them with this disease. And so that lines up a lot with those sentiments. Of course, as time goes on and at least the populace and how religious organizations look at medicine changes somewhat. Of course, it's never fully gone away, as the current pandemic will tell you, but it became more popular to just chalk it up to nature and not God.
Yep. I also was interested in the, specifically using the train metaphor as the way of doing it, because, right, that's something that is also emerges in this period. But before then, and also as we move on, just shoutouts to Tears for Fears. Because this is Everybody Wants to Rule the World on Distorted Electrics.
The music in this game, again, on point and wonderful in so many ways.
Yeah, right, anyway, right, the idea of the train being the metaphor, I feel like has to be tied up in American expansionism.
It
right,
definitely is, because
it's not just more, a faster way of moving, but specifically, right, so much of the American myth of Manifest Destiny hinged on the ability to cross the West, especially on the Transcontinental Railroad.
Absolutely, as I'm sure that famous painting of Image of Manifest Destiny as
Yeah.
a woman walking across the nation, you'll see people laying train tracks behind her, and seeing that as facilitating the movement across the continent.
Yep. Lockpicks, 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 training, escape attempts, ciphers, 2 instruments, and an Allegro for a flute clock? Huh. By Beethoven. Okay. Interesting that they don't have, that they're using a sorry, they're using a trumpet and a tin whistle.
Yeah.
That's not...
a little odd, but...
I mean, that is not an orchestral flute. By Beethoven's time, the orchestral flute was your transverse flute that was invented earlier in the century.
Would it be like military bands with the brass section and tin whistle?
The classic instrument for the American military band in the 18th century is the fife. I think in the it continues to be transverse. There may be some Civil War stuff that uses tin whistle.
I'm not certain exactly on that.
But
I'm more of a
I don't know. It struck me as weird, as that is a very classically American instrument, but not an instrument that makes a lot of sense in context.
Oh, someone in chat is saying that might not be a tin whistle, but
it's not a modern tin whistle. Unfortunately, I locked the door behind us, which is real awkward. Open up! But it's
going straight into the dressing room.
It's far more akin to a tin whistle than it is to a recorder, even a recorder or a modern flute. But yeah, right. It is, and it's not a fife because fifer is wood 1 and transverse 2nd.
Yeah.
So, it is getting. Knock knock. Knock. I feel weird. Can we?
Yeah, this is.
Can we knock on the window or something?
Breaking the window would be nice if that's possible, but
we don't have our gun. Our gun is put away for this section, with
for no apparent reason.
I mean plot. Peculiar. Can we ignore this sign though? I'm sure we can break this mirror. I'm real sure.
You're just not trying hard enough.
Whoa!
So we see some drawings of Songbird and also Her Love of Paris. And our first glimpse at, in my opinion, one of the things that will eventually diminish the quality of the story. But.
Correct. But that was clearly Paris in the 1980s.
Yeah.
That's clear. Yeah. Oh, Peter, have you not seen this game before? Yeah. She has superpowers. This job is terrible. Why are we playing this job? Why did we take this job?
Gotta wipe away the debt somehow, and apparently investigation wasn't paying.
Thank you. Okay, I would kill for that bookshelf. Not gonna lie, I would kill for the bookshelf. I could skip the statue.
I totally would. I just saw the bookshelf now.
But,
I want.
Yep.
Library.
The Comstock statue definitely.
Could skip it.
Him in uniform.
Don't super care.
Yeah, I would like the bookshelves alone.
Holy shit! All right, I can do this.
You mean do this? Oh, it actually doesn't let me jump over. It actually doesn't let me fling myself off.
Oh,
Okay, we got ledges. We got. Ah, damn it! The invisible walls are too tall.
The safety rail.
What
is
is
so
the
small.
point?
Why can't it? Yeah. Why can't you just run off?
Well, hello. Oh shit.
This impractical statue again. Well,
Hi.
again shows it.
Hi, we're fine. No, we're okay. Ow. Ow.
Hey! Knock it off! Stop it! Will you stop it? Not here to hurt you.
Who are you?
My name is DeWitt. I'm a friend.
So using books as weapons,
Get away!
I don't approve because
I don't approve.
Could harm the book.
Oh,
But
she
at the
hits
same
us.
time,
But it is also quantum mechanics.
yeah, true.
So-
It's a physics book, so it's fine to use as a weapon.
You've got to
It
go.
is physics.
Why?
You can.
You don't want to be here.
I'm
when he
sure
gets here.
some
Just
physicists
a minute,
can
I'm getting dressed.
draw me a free body diagram of
There's no
what
way out. Trust
forces
me,
are
I've
acting on it.
looked. Stop it! You're too impatient. That's enough.
What about this?
What about it?
This is the way out, isn't it?
What are you? Give it to me.
Uh-huh.
Of course, Comstock in uniform definitely appealing to the image of a veteran post
Yes.
Civil War / Indian Wars.
Also, literally angelic, out of violations of the U.S. flag code.
Yes, those flags definitely need to be retired, but making them look like angels, definitely little vibe of American civil religion. Even though Comstock is not exactly an American figure, it still calls upon the same symbols.
Come on, this way.
This way, you said. Alright.
It's his job to keep me locked up in here.
We'll see
Yep.
about
How
that.
does she know where to go? I don't think she's been out of that room.
I don't think she's been this way, but we don't exactly have a lot of hallways.
Why did you come here?
True.
We're not exactly swarming in alternative paths.
This way, come on.
I mean, isn't that convenient for this very large angel statue, which I'm sure would have many branching paths in it?
Ow. Ah.
Hurry!
Okay, guns out. We can shoot it again. Let's go.
Hell is that? Call the elevator.
Perfect.
What?
Oh yeah, the gold statue definitely feels like General Lee.
Yes.
The beard and facial hair generally too. Lee as a figure, at least in his basically iconography, really shows him as like a father of the South, which gets lumped in with Lost Cause narratives and the whole myth around the Lost Cause. Basically creating a Southern civil religion, as I mentioned before, but that symbol is very powerful to people of a guiding fatherly figure. And there's Songbird! The best
My
bird.
bullets, they do nothing. Also, my bullets still do nothing. I can't shatter the glass.
Ah, that's a shame.
I know, right?
How do you know my name?
Contract.
Really impressive for 1912.
I know, right? The mechanics that go into Songbird are a lot. Like, they only got heavier than air flight. Just that. Actually, Kitty Hawk is like this year, isn't it?
Maybe? I'm not certain on that.
Let me double check. Shut up, game. Game, don't. Oh, it's 1903. Okay, so we're
earlier.
9 years in.
So of course, we're talking about, you know, the flight of Songbird and not about the flight of this entire city.
I mean, this is using lighter than air. Right, this whole thing is held aloft on hydrogen. It's fine. It's Songbird specifically that's not fine.
I mean, I'm sure the balloons would need to be bigger, but again, I'm a microbiologist and not a physicist, so I don't know.
Let's go. Ow. I just broke all of my shoulders. Bye.
Oh yeah, if you were able to maintain grip, definitely dislocated. So we're back in the beautiful city of Columbia. As much as I don't like that I like it this much, but it's wonderful architecture.
Damn it, I can't get off then. I tried to get off, and it didn't let me. I can clearly make that jump. Okay. Never mind, I didn't want to make that jump anyway.
I do like the big metal, steel,
Ow.
I'm assuming steel bridge, because late 19th century you get a lot of steel bridge construction, you know, Andrew Carnegie, and also people say Carnegie, they're wrong. Carnegie is the best way to pronounce it.
Fair.
And the only way, in my opinion.
I should be super dead.
Yeah, that's a long way to the surface, but okay.
Yeah, why are you here? Yeah.
What do you want, Anna? Anna!
We're fine. We're fine. It's all good. We're good.
Oh, Battleship Bay.
Uh-huh.
Definitely gives me
I don't
Roosevelt
remember.
slap.
The beginning of the game did tell us where where Columbia was when we went up. But
we were over Maine whenever.
yeah, we were in Maine when we went
whenever-
up. So is that supposed to be like Brooklyn that we just wiped out?
Here, let me.
I'll be fine.
You almost drowned. You need to.
Not quite
said
sure.
I'm fine.
Because it definitely would be falling on something.
Mm-hmm.
Do you hear that? It's music.
Go on, I just see that.
Okay, I won't be long. I won't be long, Mr. DeWitt.
Ow. Yep. Just gonna pass out again real quick.
Yes. Just definitely leave someone who nearly drowned right there. He'll be fine.
Yep. I'm glad you guys did like come and help. Rude. Also, apparently Columbia's like just that. Apparently the reason we didn't die is that it's literally like 100 feet off the water right now.
I think you're still in Columbia.
Maybe?
You're-
Oh yeah, we actually
yeah,
are.
this-
We totally still are.
floating
If we
island.
swim out this way, if the game lets us swim out the game. Booker. 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 Let me swim. But you're right. That's all falling off a waterfall. So yeah, I think we did just hit. We fell out of Columbia onto another part of Columbia.
0 of 10 can't swim, but
Well,
yeah, that is cool how it's kind of a tiered city, though it would have been cooler if they did kind of a greater element of an Undercity with showing social strife, but okay.
yeah, I think the idea is the rest of the United States is the Undercity.
Oh, yeah, that would make sense.
I'm fairly sure that right, could they frame it so heavily as Sodom that it's going to be the closest you can actually get is to the rest of the United States and all of the interesting decisions that are going on there here just
Yeah.
before World War One that define that.
I do think that the Battleship Bay feels a lot closer to Spanish-American War and also Roosevelt sending
for a young
the Navy
girl.
around as a projection of American power and imperialism. I
Yeah.
feel like that's a cool link, but it's not really emphasized too much in how Columbia works with, you know, it being an air city and not a naval city.
Yep. Anyway,
Airship. That could be our ticket out of here.
I think this needs to be where we leave it off, because it is getting late, and I do have some things I need to do yet tonight, so... This is, regrettably, where we will leave it all off for the day.
I mean, we'll hopefully be back next week.
Exactly. On Saturday, so some notes, announcements, etc. First, make sure if you have not yet that you follow the channel, and if you want to support it more, consider subscribing. Remember, you get one free sub every month with Twitch Prime. So, if you are already giving Jeff Bezos money, you may as well give me some money too. Right? Right. Second off, next stream is going to be on Saturday at 11 AM Central Time. And we will be playing the original OG Gandhi nuke-filled Civilization. It's time, we're doing it. So, over the next several weeks, it's going to be basically alternating this game and a Civilization game, with the goal of kind of getting ready for Humankind's release on August 17th. To try and understand a little bit of how the 4X genre has tackled history, and then see some ways in which the genre is trying to move past that. Which is really exciting. It's high time we do this, so... Graphics are going to be rough, but... You gotta start at the beginning, right? So, otherwise, in the About section of the stream, there are links to a YouTube channel and a Discord server, both of which... The VOD for this, if you missed any of it, it'll be uploaded there. On the YouTube channel, and there are also video essays that I do there. Currently the next project, I suppose, is editing the Wrath of the Druid streams from a couple months ago into a somewhat more watchable format. It's slow going, but we're making progress. Otherwise, we've got a couple other projects in the works, so make sure you're subscribed there, and join the Discord server to talk with me and Reed and everyone else. At any time outside of streams.
Absolutely.
So,
feel free to ping me for any of my eclectic collections of interests and majors. But
yep, and you know we made a good start. We're gonna keep researching, keep trying to make this better. But thank you so much, Reed, for joining me for this first episode. And
thank you for having me.
We will both see you next week, Wednesday, same time, same place, same channel, for more of this. I hope you all enjoyed, and I hope you all have a good night. Bye.